Visual Basic is the other leading language for programming.NET. You may know it by its VB acronym or as visualbasic.net, but it is officially known within Microsoft as Visual Basic. C# and VB share a lot of features and are more similar than different in .NET 4.0. According to my sources at Microsoft, these two languages are tremendously popular and account for the highest percentage of .NET programmers. In this movie, I want to show you some basics of the VB language and its editor. I'm inside Visual Studio and I've opened this project called VB Editor. I have one code file here called module1.vb. The VB extension signifies that this code file contains Visual Basic code. I'll double-click on module1.vb and load it in the editor. In Visual Basic, when you're working in a console application, you have to specify a submain, a main entry point for the application. So you call it submain and you put it inside a module. I'm going to write some code to read and write information out to this console window. I'll start by writing a piece of information to the console. To do that, I'll use the console class. Notice the drop-down IntelliSense I get here inside Visual Studio is showing me the available types I can work with. At this point, I've typed enough for Visual Studio to recognize the word console, and I can just press Tab to finish the typing. Then I'll type in period, and then WRI. There I found a recognition for right and right line. I'm pressing the up and down arrows on my keyboard right now to get this. Now I'm going to press the Enter key while right line is selected. Visual Basic knows that this is a method call, so it puts the open and close parentheses automatically on that line. This is something that VB does that C# editor does not do. This would write a blank line. I'd rather write something out to the console, so I'm going to come up to this line and type something in the parentheses. I'm going to type in, hello, what is your name, ? To end a line of code in VB, you just hit the Enter key. Nothing special is required like the semicolon in C#. So I'm going to move down to the next line, and I'm going to show you what happens when I run the application at this point. If I'm inside Visual Studio and I go up to Debug, Start Debugging, the application is going to run, my code will run, and then immediately terminate. So don't blink while you watch this. Did you see that window pop up? I don't want that to happen. I'd rather wait and see what the results are. So there's a mechanism inside Visual Studio to make that happen. It's up here in the Debug, Start Without Debugging. Let's run the application again using this menu item. You see the difference? This time the application runs, asks me what my name is. My application has now terminated, but Visual Studio keeps the console window open so I can read the results. Then I press any key on my keyboard to close this window. I'm going to press the space bar. I'd rather have my own code listening to the keystrokes, so I'm going to come down to line 9 on my computer and type in console.readLine. That reads whatever the user types on the console and puts it in a variable. Well, I don't have a variable yet, so let's make one. In Visual Basic, you use the dim keyword to declare a variable, like this. Dim name as string. Enter. I'm going to copy this console.readLine, paste it down here, Control V, and then I'm going to say on line 12 on my computer, name equal. So let's review what's happening. I'm writing this string to the console. I'm declaring a variable. I'm asking the user for their name, and I'm storing it in this variable. Then I'm going to write again to the console and choose a copy. And I'll come down here to line 13. I'm going to paste it in, Control V. And then I'm going to concatenate this variable on the end. Concatenation just means taking two strings and putting the second string on the end of the first string. So I'm going to say hello, and then ampersand, which is the concatenation operator in Visual Basic, name. And then I'll wait for the user to close the application. Let's try this one. Debug, start debugging. I type in my name, Walt Richer. Hit the Enter key. It mirrors that back to me. hello Walt Richer, and then it waits for me to press the enter key to terminate the application. Next, I'm going to show you how to declare a different type of variable. I'm going to say dim fs as new system.io.filestream. Right down here. I'm going to press the down arrow to move to FileStream and then press the enter key. What this is saying is declare a variable and instantiate an instance of this class, the FileStream class, and store the instance in this variable. Now to simplify my life, I can eliminate typing in system.io. So I'm going to delete this. Notice I get a blue squiggle at this moment because it doesn't recognize the class name. I'll then scroll up to the top of my code module and type in an import statement up here. Imports system.io. Make sure you spell it correctly. Now look at line 18 in my code. That blue squiggle that was under FileStream has disappeared. That signifies that it recognized that as a valid class. Putting this imports at the top of my code simplifies the body of my code document. So what I've showed you so far today is how to read and write from the console in Visual Basic. Obviously, teaching VB would take a course of its own. You'll see more examples of it later in this course.